Hi everyone, it's Mr. T back again here from Sosua in beautiful Dominican Republic. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, then feel free to do so and click that notification bell to be informed about new releases. In this documentary, we're going to look into why Dominicans often itch to get off their island and the culture shock they get while they're overseas, and also why a lot of them return to the country again. So let's not wait, let's get stuck into things. Here's the first interviewee. Here we go. With me here I have Carlos Alvarez, a Spanish teacher and friend here from the Sosua area. Thanks for being on video, Carlos.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what would you say is the Dominicans' big itch about getting off the island? Because over time I've spoken to a number of Dominicans that seem to think the grass is greener elsewhere.
And the point is, people think that if you leave this country, all your problems are going to be solved. And they don't realize that when you leave this country, there are other problems that you need to deal with. And this country, you don't have them. So the point is, people feel like mesmerized about, material things, and they want to own things. And the point is, it's not that easy. You need to work very hard.
Don't you think it could also have something to do with they see people come here and splash out money, and it could give them the impression that people just have a lot of money back home, but they may have actually worked for weeks or months or even years sometimes to save up to come and splash out here.
Yeah, the tourists that come here, the people that come here because they work so hard and they save their money. And when they come here, they're acting like if they were rich or millionaire. And people think that money falls out from the sky, and it's not like that. People come here to show off, some of them, or to have the nice life. So that is the impression that people have.
What would be the biggest kind of culture shocks they would experience if they went to Canada, US, Europe, or another country than here?
The money really is hard to get. It's not like you find it on the streets. You need to work and work real hard. Here people think that they work. You should go there. People say, look, you need to work and work very hard. If you go to a restaurant, you need to work very hard to get your money. Plus, you need to add some things. For example, you need to buy clothing because it is very cold. And you need to add more and more expenses. And then people think, oh, I wasn't that bad when I was in the Dominican Republic.
Also, I know, having grown up in other countries, that the bills that come in can be quite high, and there's a lot of forced things like insurance. You can't have your vehicle on the road unless it's insured, and so on and so on. And then there's fines, unexpected expenses. Especially if you're new, you don't know where to park, how fast you can go in different areas. I remember once coming to a city where I got 3 speeding tickets in half an hour just because I didn't know how fast I can go on the different highways. So this must be a shock to Dominicans who usually live pretty free.
Because here, for example, when I drive here and when I have a foreign person next to me and I see that I do something wrong, he says, but look, you did this, and you say, as long as there's no damage or something like that, everything is fine. But it's not like that in other countries. I mean, countries really have very tight rules and laws that you need to respect. And some people, when they travel, I can say the Dominicans tend, to learn quick. But the point is, it is a hard price to pay. Sometimes people get caught and they cannot make it. And in order to, for example, return empty-handed, they stay there doing anything because they don't want to face the truth that they are
losing face.
Yes, I mean, people are even sleeping in the bathroom of the train stations and things like this because they don't want to come back in order to come here. And people are going to say, but where is the money? I mean, we were expecting you to, for example, become rich. So that is another side of this history, that the people cannot make it, then they stay there doing whatever because they don't want to come back to their country empty-handed.
That's quite a humbling experience.
Yes, and this is something very, very, very bad. But the point is, now normally people now tend to see on cable TV what is the global situation, and we tend to compare and say, well, this is not happening here. And some people say, well, so I'd rather stay in here. But the other daring, they say, okay, let's do it. So I remember in the 80s, people used to do anything to leave this country. They take a raft and they took a small boat and reach, for example, to Puerto Rico, because from there they could go to the States. Now, little and less people are doing that, because now suddenly the situation of this country is getting better. Quite on the contrary, more people are coming here. People from Colombia, people from, for example, Venezuela, and from other countries are coming to this country to, find a better living. So now suddenly we are saying, hey, something is going on in this country, so it's not that bad after all.
Thank you very much, Carlos. These are great comments, and all the very best of your business.
Thank you so much.
And I've left some little details at the bottom so people can contact you if they're coming down here and they need a good Spanish teacher. You do one-on-one lessons. Thank you again.
Pretty much appreciate it.
Cheers. Take care. And I'm here with Shayla, who's traveled to US and experienced a few things over there, correct?
That's correct.
So what made you travel over to United States? What was your expectations before you went off, and how did it all end up for you?
Realizing this is where I grew up, a tropical country. It's summer all year round, and this is what I like. This is the freedom that I like.
And where did you go in the US?
New Jersey.
What was different that kind of put you off staying there? Was it the pressure, the tempo, or?
No, it was nice. I mean, it was a small town, not the transportation. It was, I had to walk every time to work, maybe 30 minutes each way, and I was cold the whole time. Like very cold, and I was very near to the beach. Can you imagine? You cannot go to the beach because you're cold. It's not a good mix.
So you realized just how good you had it back here.
Yeah. Of course.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments, and enjoy the warm weather back here. Thanks, Shayla.
You're welcome.
Take care. All right, folks, we'll be right back to the interviews in just a moment. Just a few fill-in clips to take a look at some of the chemtrail spraying going on here in DR. This toxic spraying is one of the elite's many nasty depopulation agendas, and out of all the countries internationally, probably we get a little bit less spraying happening here, which means our health will probably deteriorate slightly slower. However, it's horrible still having to breathe in these toxins and to look at chemical sunsets nearly every evening. Hence the reason we all need to join forces to take down the corrupt elite so we can regain our deserved health and blue skies again. Anyway, give that some thought. Back to the interviews. Here we go. At the moment, I'm with a very sharp man and friend called Oscar, who lives up in the hills here on the north coast. Thanks for being on video, Oscar.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Oscar, you've had a number of years living in United States, correct?
That's correct.
How many years in total?
I would say 35 years.
35 years. And did you live in different cities or?
Yes. Yeah.
Where did you?
I lived in Miami, lived in New York, lived in Washington, and Tucson, Arizona. And
just going back in time first, what was your motivation to start with to actually leave Dominican Republic and get over there?
Well, that was back in the 80s. I graduated from school, and then I thought it was best that I went overseas. It was by accident that I went to the States. So, and I enjoyed life back then in the United States. The big itch was that in my field of work, there was hardly anything here except the government, and I was not about to work for government. So I wanted to work for an international organization, which I did, the UN. And so I was abroad for few years in Switzerland as well, and then in Asia also. But my case is particular because, you know, having graduated from a Canadian university, I had opportunities that other Dominicans don't have, which are, I believe, the object of this interview: why Dominicans go overseas, why Dominicans migrate to the United States. And I think we have very different reasons. A lot of them have to do with, I would say, the lack of opportunities in Dominican Republic for the young people, for young people in general. And if they have a connection to, if they have relatives in the United States, they would go and move to the U.S. under the illusion of the American dream, not realizing how difficult it is to break into American workplace. So a lot of these young people that migrate to the United States, they're looking for better opportunities because of the lack of opportunities in the Dominican Republic, particularly for young professionals. And this is more obvious day by day as there's a brain drain towards the United States. The problem is that when they get to the United States, the prejudice against Latins is overwhelming. Notwithstanding all the advances in equal rights, America is not a friendly place to Dominicans, I would say. A lot of them end up doing menial work in big cities, underpaid, exploited, and sadly they return. They come back to the Dominican Republic after a while because they realize that the American dream is not such a dream. It's a very harsh reality. It's very hard for them to make a living in the United States, a decent living in the United States. You see a lot of bad apples, people that, you know, form gangs in New York, Dominicans that form gangs and drugs, prostitution, but that's not the Dominican. Dominicans are good people, hardworking, honest and reliable. Unfortunately, our reality in the Dominican Republic is that we are ruled by very corrupt politicians. And the corruption has drained all the resources from this country into private pockets. And this is it's like a vicious circle. The poverty increases and more people want to flee. And then when they arrive to the United States or Europe, because there are a lot of Dominicans in Europe, they see that it's not easy. It's here, you have a relative anywhere, and people will give you a plate of food. That doesn't happen in advanced countries. You can't go and knock on someone's door and tell them, give me some food, because they'll call the police.
Now, Oscar, a lot of Dominicans who come over there are used to a lot of freedoms, though, here, where the government, maybe because of the corruptions, there's two sides to it. They want to make money their way, but they don't hang themselves in petty little rules and regulations, which takes a lot of law enforcement, which you find a lot of in US. So what happens to them when they suddenly see you can't cross the middle line? The police siren starts going off pretty quick if you don't play your cards right.
Absolutely. Yes, it is a cultural shock. Absolutely. The amount of regulations in the U.S. is mind-boggling. I remember I owned a business in Miami, and the paperwork was overwhelming. I had to have a person to do the paperwork. I'm not talking about accounting. I'm talking about just plain paperwork. Here, it's different. Here, you get your permit. That's it. They let you in peace. But in the States, I mean, the reporting requirements are mind-boggling, and for somebody that goes from a very lax culture like this one to the United States, where you are required to pay for everything, it's scary, and some people want to take a shortcut, and that's how they end up in trouble. Okay, because they don't report their taxes, they don't pay their taxes, they don't report things correctly, because we're not used to. That's not a Latin culture thing. People believe that we're very bureaucratic. Yes, it's true. Latin societies are bureaucratic by nature because of their Spanish ancestry. The Spanish Empire was extremely bureaucratic, okay? And this is what we inherited. What happens is that once you resolve the bureaucratic part, you have a lot of freedom to do whatever you want to do. You don't have a police over you constantly watching everything you do, say, in your business or in your private life. The United States has become sort of like a police state where they are regulating everything you do. And unfortunately, it's getting more so with the new ID that's coming out in 2020 or 2022, I think, where you're going to need an ID to even get a driver's license. So that is problematic. That's why a lot of people come back to Dominican Republic or to their countries of origin, because I'm not going to say there's a reverse flow as well. Just as many people go as they come back.
Right.
Because once they realize how difficult it is to make a living in the States, how difficult it is just to keep up with the paperwork, they decide that they want to go back to their country and probably not have as many material benefits, but they live in peace. I saw the U.S. Turning into a police state. It's become it's very scary. When I lived in Tucson, I remember driving to the border of Mexico, and there were police blockades, okay? And anybody who was a little bit darker was subject to interrogation. As you see, I'm not white, I'm, Latin, and had I not been driving a car like mine, they would have pulled me out. And I know of stories of people that have been pulled out and questioned. So I think a lot of people will be returning to their countries of origin. I did find in the States a lot of prejudice against Latins, a lot of prejudice against people like me. I would be qualified for a position, but they would give it to another one that was white, with blonde, blue eyes. That is a fact of life. Americans are extremely, extremely prejudiced. They pay lip service to not being racist and all this, but that's not true. I can tell you, honestly, after 35 years there, that they are extremely racist. They won't tell you in your face, but they'll let you know your place, that you're a second-class citizen.
Mm-hmm. Well, these are strong words. I'm sure some will agree, others will disagree, but we live in a world where there should be freedom of expression and freedom of speech, and I highly appreciate your sharp input to the video here, and I hope people can learn from it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Take care. Yeah, Felipe, he's from my first video I ever put out. He's still grinding away here at Sosua Beach, collecting bottles. Buenos servicios, gracias. Okay, cuídate. I'm with Cesar, who you've seen in a previous video before. Thanks for being on video again.
Yeah.
Cesar, you've got experience with Dominicans and traveling, like it was US, yeah?
Yeah.
Why would you say that Dominicans are keen to get to places like the US or Canada and Europe? And how do you find it works out for them normally when they do travel away?
Yeah, they want to live because in here we have almost nothing. When they go to the United States, they got better life.
And what gives them a better life, you think?
Yeah, they got enough food, they can get a good job, they can find some good money in there. Here you can do nothing because here the government and the rest of the people in the government, they take everything. We have no insurance, we have no social security here, we got nothing. That's why we stay there when we go.
Mm-hmm. But some do return.
Yeah, because the most people who return is because they don't like to work.
Mm-hmm.
They want to live here because here, if you work a couple of days and you stay, and sometimes you don't work. But the people who think in the future, they live because there is better than here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you think the ones that return, they've saved up enough money to be able to come and retire here?
That's happened too, and sometimes they save good money, and they want to come to live with the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they coming back, because they want to live with the family. That's why but sometimes they collect good money and then they come.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you think there's some culture shocks when they do travel off to US from here? Is there? What would you say shocks a Dominican when they come to like US?
Yeah, they gotta change something, because in some time here you can do something, and there is not the same. There you gotta get a control in there, and then it's different. Sometimes different than here. I think it's better because you get education when you be there. You learn a lot of things different than here.
And would you say the tempo is much higher over there?
Yeah.
There's a lot more pressure on.
Yeah, but you gotta learn. That's why the people learn how to live. Because here we do whatever we want, but it's not a good thing. You gotta have education everywhere you go.
Right. Cesar, thank you very much for your comments, and all the best.
Okay.
Why would you say a lot of Dominicans come back when they've been overseas in US or Canada or other places?
Well, they go there. I'm gonna say it, okay? I'm gonna get in trouble, but it's alright, yeah? Because they go there, they go in crimes, and they get deported, so they come back here. So that's why it is.
So there's no innocent ones amongst that. Are you being hard on them?
Some, not all of them.
Okay. So you better fly out today or they'll throw rocks at you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yes, they are gonna do that, aren't they? With the coconuts.
That's it.
With the coconut.
Be careful you don't get a coconut in the back of your ponytail.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
All right, man.
Have a good day, and you be careful out there now.
Yeah, all right.
I'm with Carlos here on Sosua Beach. Thank you for being on video, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
Now, you went and lived in US for quite a number of years. Was it 21?
Yes, 21 years, sir.
So, leading up to that, what was the big itch you had to get out of Dominican Republic and get to US? What was so hopeful, exciting about that?
Yes, just to try to get maybe a better education, and and see how another country look.
Yeah.
And try to, see I can find a better place to live.
And do you think there's a lot of Dominicans that have that same desire to just a need to get out of my island and explore the world?
Well, yes, maybe 99% of those people, they try to see that they can get a better life, and that's why they go to another country and see what they can do.
So it's very much for financial reasons people do it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And based on what you expected,
yes.
How did it turn out? What city did you go to?
Well, I was living in New York.
Yeah.
I went to Florida. I went to Rhode Island. That's Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Boston. It was
So you got around a bit. And
yes.
how did it all kind of seem compared to what you expected?
Well,
is it different?
It's not really a lot of freedom like you have in Dominican Republic, and it was something like you had to be, like you don't got that many expectations what you was thinking that you have in your mind. It's all different, It's a lot of rule and it's a lot of control that you have to follow, to don't get in any
trouble or get fined.
Right, yes.
What made up your mind in the end of the day to get back over here to Dominican Republic?
Because for me, I think this is the best country, because you have all beautiful women, you got beach, and it's nice to live here because you can decide what you want. It's no matter, whether it's, and you can get it. It's not the same. Like it's something that you got over there. There is so many people that can get it and other people can't get it. But over here, everybody's free to get what you want. And that's why I feel so comfortable here.
Excellent. And what did you used to do for a living in US?
Well, I used to cut hair and I used to work in factory.
If you kind of reflect on other Dominicans that you met over there, did they seem kind of shocked with what they found compared to what they had expected? Was it hard for them to find jobs? Was it colder than they thought? Did you?
No, really, it's not hard to get a job. You can get a job, really, but you have to be following the rule, and you don't have no time for your life. You have to be working all the time, pay the bills, and follow that rule. And you don't got opportunity to feel like a free person.
Okay, I always like using the proverb, do we work to live or live to work?
Right.
Thank you for being on video, Carlos, and welcome back.
Right, thank you, sir.
Cheers.
They don't care how they're going to make money, because for them, it was like they was doing so bad here that they just focus on making money. Doesn't matter how. That's a shame. Why in the Dominican Republic, they never tried to do anything to make money, and then they come here to a country that they don't even know that is very strict. And they be doing things that they never do. I still, till now, Mr. T, I don't understand how the mind works. If you plant a tree, whatever you plant, you're gonna receive. But anything you plant will grow. Right. If you plant evil, you're gonna get evil. If you plant honesty, you're gonna get honesty.
Okay, so a lot of them, they just need to give themselves a checkup from the neck up and go there with the right attitude.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Freddie, for this, and
my pleasure, Mr.
all the very best down here. Here with Kwasi. I'm here with Alex, who you've probably seen in other documentaries before. Thanks for being on video again.
Hello.
Alex, you're one of those gentlemen that experienced traveling to Germany.
Yes.
And how did that all come about? And how did it go in Germany? How long were you there for? How did it all start?
I fell in love with the German lady, beautiful lady. So then I get with the time boyfriends. We get boyfriends after, and then we get married. And then we get child, and then I go to Germany, and then I lived there for 7 years. I was working there to survive and pay everything for my family.
What did you do for work?
I was in the first year mantenimiento in the Young Central, and then after I was working bartender, cocktails, and the weekend and my off days I was making DJ. It was my life in Germany. It was really nice there, and I love Germany. I love Germany.
So what happened for you to come back to Dominican Republic?
One of my child was sick, and then we decided to move here. And from that time to this time, I still keep in here because my wife was go with my best friend. So now I'm alone. Anybody there?
Okay. Well, I'll let you do the dating thing yourself, but.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting. One last question. When you lived in Germany, how did you find it? Was it a culture shock to you? Or was there a lot more rules, regulations, or did you cope with that okay?
Yeah, it was okay. Some places were not accepting much my color, but that wasn't that time. Now it's mixing.
More multicultural.
Yeah, but in the beginning was a little bit strange to go to some places inside.
Just in general, for any Dominican who goes to Canada, US, Europe, what do you think would shock a Dominican when they come to one of these regulated countries? What's the biggest shock to them?
They're Dominican. We are Dominican. We don't like too much like go there, do this, and the time, punctually. Hey,
to be punctual.
Germany. If you be Dominican, you have to change your mentality to live there because these people is very correct, disciplined, and punctual. You have to be right in the time there. You have to make it work very good. If you don't do that, you're not allowed to live in Germany.
Thank you so much, Alex. Excellent comments, and all the best with your life here again.
Thank you very much. Peace and love.
Thank you. Why would you say that Dominicans often shoot out of the country, try their luck overseas, and why they often return again?
If you are educated and you have a degree or you got at the university here you want to promote yourself or to sell yourself a little bit better. That's why they go out of the country. As well, there are people, they just want to have a better life, and when they go out.
Why would you say a lot of them come back in the end? Because I meet a lot of ex-travelers.
We have a lot of people coming back because actually you belong to the Dominican Republic, and it's not because you belong to, it's because if you have better look outside and better also living outside of the island, you have to recognize the only place to live better is in your own country.
So you would say a lot of them just save up enough money to come back and live much better here?
Not only that, they also get ideas and bring it back to the Dominican Republic to have a better life.
Excellent. All right. Interesting. Thank you so much, and all the best with your career here.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Jobson. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching to this point. We're almost done. Just wanted to remind you about that I also have a relocation advisory service. So if you are planning to move down here, the safest way to cross a minefield is to follow somebody else's footsteps. Don't fall in the traps. For a very fair fee, you can get some consultancy and avoid all the pitfalls and get the best suppliers that I've sussed out here over the last 10 years. So send me an email if you're interested to info@educatedtraveler.info, and that also goes if you're a tourist and you want travel advice around the island. Now, thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Tick like, share, and make a comment to the video. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Some Dominicans itch to get off the island, and the culture shock they get when they come overseas, and why a lot of them actually return again. Here we go. Wait, let's get stuck into things, and wow, they know how to make some noise here. In this documentary, we're going to look into why a lot of Dominicans...